If you go back through the history of humanity, no matter how far back you go, you'll always find one constant: medicine. From the past to the present, people have been not only strong followers of it, but also deeply shaped by it. Now, you might be thinking, what do you mean by shaped? Don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what I mean by that word. So let's kick off our channel's newest series, The History of Religions. In the first episode, we'll start with the Abrahamic religions, which have fundamentally changed and influenced our lives over the last 3,500 years. Even though history is often filled with inaccuracies, we will do our best to explore the Abrahamic religions with the clearest and most concise information available. Together, we'll uncover the truths. In the coming weeks, we'll sequentially cover Christianity, Islam, and, although not typically regarded as an Abrahamic religion, we'll discuss another faith that shares similarities. This is just the beginning of our series. Judaism, or as it should be called, the religion of the Jews, has become fragmented and, after the Babylonian captivity, completely corrupted. So, how did this religion evolve? And as always, how was it shaped and changed by human hands? Let's uncover the truths together. To keep the video engaging, and not too long, we'll focus on the core beliefs and key turning points of Judaism. The Jewish faith fundamentally traces back to Abraham. Originally, religions didn't break into different sects. They were all parts of a foundational ancient belief. However, after Abraham's lineage, these religions began to diverge into different paths due to human influence. Today, this division is often presented as those who descend from Abraham's son Ishmael becoming Muslims, while those from his son Isaac are considered part of the Jewish lineage. However, during Abraham's time, there was no symbolic division. People lived and died with a shared philosophy and belief system. In Judaism, there are three great patriarchs: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob is known as the father of Joseph, who became a significant prophet living in Canaan. It was during Jacob's time that Joseph rose to prominence, becoming a vizier, leading the family to settle in Egypt. Many years later, with Moses, a great separation occurred as the Israelites multiplied in Egypt. The reason I'm sharing this background is that we've all encountered the concept of the Israelites in history. The Israelites built the temple for God and traveled to Jerusalem, where they faced challenges, including the exodus from Egypt led by Moses. But what exactly does the term Israelite mean? And where does the name Israel come from? This is where the story of Jacob becomes significant. According to Jewish tradition, as Jacob was fleeing from his brother who wanted to kill him, he encountered a divine being near Canaan, which they describe as a kind of malevolent angel. However, if we explain it through reason and logic, Jacob encounters a large and barbaric bandit, whom we might call a highwayman, causing him great difficulty. After battling this foe and achieving victory, Jacob receives a revelation from God, declaring that from now on, his name will be Israel. Thus, in modern Turkish, the name Israel emerges, along with the concept of the Israelites, referring to his descendants. The word Israel literally means he who struggles with God or the one who fights for God. So, what exactly is this God we're talking about? It's actually a term most of you know, but the etymology is often misunderstood. It refers to God himself. In Arabic, the word for God, Allah, is not pronounced with a strong emphasis on the A as in Turkish. Instead, they say Allah more like Allah. This term is actually a combination of the Arabic words El and Ilah, which means the God. Thus, Allah signifies a being of great power. In fact, Allah, Ilah, and Tanri are all terms that refer to the same divine entity. Over thousands of years, cultures have interpreted and pronounced these words differently, but they ultimately represent the same being. As I mentioned earlier, the Israelites eventually settled in Egypt, where they faced oppression and suffering due to their beliefs. This chain of events changed dramatically when Moses came to their rescue. Now, we arrive at the origin of the name of the religion. This community, which migrated from Egypt to the region of Israel under the leadership of Moses, initially followed his teachings and philosophy, which is why it is referred to as Judaism. This belief system is fundamentally aligned with the core teachings of the Abrahamic religions. Repairing the world, avoiding wrongdoing, and doing good. These core messages are present in all religions. Unlike the modern Jewish faith, which often involves extreme symbols and concepts, the foundational beliefs are actually very similar to those in contemporary Islam. At the heart of it is a beautiful philosophy centered around God's compassionate and forgiving teachings. So where did things start to change? Just a few days ago, we saw how the religion began to take on a strange, twisted form that is now associated with Israel. The term Jew actually refers to an ethnic group rather than a religion. It originally denoted the tribe of Judah, one of the 10 tribes of Israel. There's no need to go into lengthy details about King Judah. That might get boring. Instead, I can provide a brief summary. After the kingdom of Israel was attacked and fragmented by the Assyrians, King Judah united the tribes in that region under his rule and became their king. The people living under his kingdom began to be referred to as Jews. In short, rather than representing a religion, the term signifies a heart or a community. Although they began to call themselves Jews, their fundamental belief system in the early days remained simple. Here, we see once again how religion is shaped by human hands. Over time, the originally straightforward teachings of Judaism started to evolve with added complexities regarding sacred days and rituals. Some Jews began to promote their beliefs as Judaism and embraced this identity. We can consider this group to encompass many aspects of their faith. Over time, the term Israelite faded away, giving way to the identity of the Jewish community. However, the real decline and corruption occurred when the Mughal Empire besieged and dismantled Israel. The captured Jews, after 90 years of captivity, began to forget their unique culture, particularly due to the ancient texts in Babylon containing great and diverse secrets. Their religion started to change and adapt. Eventually, the Babylonian king, influenced by his own interests, vowed to create a philosophy of a single language, a single world state, and a single religion, leading to a twisted form of faith. So much so that in their holy books, the beautiful and merciful image of God was replaced by a vengeful, angry figure known as Yahweh, symbolizing a hostile and wrathful deity. Over time, remnants of the old faith were suppressed and labeled as heresy, leading to the marginalization of those who held onto those beliefs. This shift is part of a larger historical pattern that has seen empires rise and fall, often driven by the need to eradicate dissent and reshape societal beliefs. The formation of secret societies and the events leading to the death of the prophet Jesus have been orchestrated by what we now refer to as Zionism. According to this belief, Jews are the chosen people, and everything and everyone else is deemed less valuable than a donkey. The underlying philosophy proclaims, we are God's only warriors. So what is the ultimate goal of this religion? Unlike other religions that focus on the individual's spiritual journey, the primary goal of Judaism is to rebuild the temple of God in Jerusalem. This would establish a concept of a single language, a single state, and a single religion that governs all races. Essentially, the true objective isn't about the afterlife, it's about controlling the world. So what has been the impact of Judaism and the Jewish faith on modern Abrahamic religions? In fact, many symbols and concepts in Christianity and Islam originate from Judaism. For example, the concept of the 4 archangels is rooted in this faith. Even their names reflect this connection. For instance, the name Gabriel, or Jibril in Arabic, translates to the strong man of God. Israfel, for instance, is often translated as the healing man of God. Essentially, the names of the angels trace back to their primary source in Judaism. Concepts like archangels and other titles have been later fabricated by humans, lacking any religious basis. It's as if Azrael, one of the 4 archangels, is mentioned multiple times in the Quran, but in reality, his name is entirely a human invention with no foundation in the sacred texts. As a small example of how people design religion according to their own interpretations, it's worth noting that such human interventions have been evident for years in sources we might call hadith collections. These texts are filled with elaborate descriptions, like Gabriel's wings encompassing all or Azrael's cold breath taking the soul. Such angelic depictions are so exaggerated that they could easily rival the imagination of science fiction writers. What's even more absurd is that, despite no one except the prophets having seen these beings, they are often described in an excessively ornate and exaggerated manner, likely for the sake of attracting attention and selling books. Even today, there are YouTube channels that deceive people by claiming to provide religious knowledge. They make ridiculous statements like the distance between Gabriel's wings is 500 years, or he is the most beautiful of all created beings, presenting fabrications that have no real connection to our religion or history. This kind of misinformation is reminiscent of the ignorance we aim to overcome. Although nearly every Abrahamic religion has been affected by this corruption, it can actually be seen as a decline that leads to a rebirth of distorted and false beliefs. The vengeful and warlike nature of Yahweh represents a shift, reflecting ancient ideas. In truth, this is an extension of very old beliefs, such as the worship of Marduk, the god who ruled over Egypt, a mindset that evokes thoughts of alien beings. This leads everyone to pause and reconsider. What do you mean, aliens? Yes, as I mentioned, this History of Religions series will be very deep and comprehensive. We'll explore how the Abrahamic religions emerged after polytheistic faiths, going back to the origins, where people worshipped gods that came from the sky, essentially, aliens. We will answer all the questions you might have, so stay tuned. And so, we've reached the end of our exploration of the history of Abrahamic religions, focusing on the beliefs of Judaism. I aim to explain the events in their fundamental aspects without boring you. While researching, I gathered information from nearly 80 local and international sources, and even during the process, surprising details kept emerging. Now, while I was examining the sources, I didn't just focus on documents related to Judaism. I also looked into the history and culture of Egypt and Mesopotamia. My advice to you is to conduct research not just from a single source, but by finding common truths across various independent sources, even if they seem unrelated. This way, you'll understand the real history, not just the version dictated to you by the powerful and the winners. If you have any questions or details you'd like to discuss, please don't hesitate to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to respond based on what I know. Until we meet again in our next video about Christianity, take care and subscribe.